Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, yWhales, wherever in the world you are today. So today is episode 15 of the yWeb3 Navigating Frontier Tech. We're diving into a whole bunch of interesting topics today, and as always, I have an amazing panel with me. From important changes in regulations, the newest breakthrough in quantum computing and AI, we're going to really be untangling a lot of the complexities of the tech world. Join us as we go through topics from crypto settlements, the changing in central entities, and really the impact of generative AI on the job market. Today is November 30th. Bitcoin is at 37.5, and the NASDAQ is at 14.2. Let's kind of jump in and go through our guests. Liat, would you mind giving a quick introduction of yourself and your background? Because it's really amazing what you've done in the space already.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, Jay, and for being on board. Love what yWhales is doing. So, Liat Aaronson, kind of a former mergers and acquisitions lawyer, but went head deep into this space by forming Horizen Labs with two co-founders. We were navigating the way to make blockchain more accessible when we hit on an incredible opportunity to help Yuga Labs launch the ApeCoin, which created a trajectory for Web3 advisory. That is where our spin out, Horizen Labs Ventures, is today. So that's what we're really excited about, getting Web3 to have sustainable, smart economics. And that's what we do.
Fabulous. Faryar, good to meet you for the first time. And I've been a big fan of Clipo Labs for a long time. So again, you've built so many things in the industry, and I'd love to kind of give us a little bit of your background and how you ended up here today.
Sure. My background starts with engineering, and then in a past life, I was also a lawyer, worked for Tesla for a number of years as a head of open source compliance and a member of the legal team. Subsequently, we started Clipo Labs. And for the past several years, we've been working on turnkey solution for high resolution photorealistic immersive environment with all accessibility to all sort of Web3 applications.
It's amazing. So let's go ahead and start off with some of the articles that we have today. And so I think the big one that everyone kind of agreed just sounds the most exciting and really deals with a little bit of, we talk a lot about a reg tech on this show, but I think while we have metaverse and immersive commerce experts on, let's kind of jump through that. So Italian regulators are investigating online AI data scraping. This is really interesting. So the Italian Data Protection Authority, I don't know exactly what they do, but sounds very important, has launched an investigation into data gathering practices for AI training. The probe aims to assess security measures on public and private websites to prevent web scraping of personal data into AI algorithms. So I think this is really a topic that we've talked about, quite a bit. And now it's interesting to see if it's gone from kind of a theoretical conversation, on Twitter and various other landscapes, to now we're into regulatory authorities saying, hey, there may be some laws violated here. And I think this is really important when we think about, copyright and kind of who owns what. And my thought right off, kind of goes to the bat of, the things that I produce, the things that we all produce, I believe that they're my proprietary, rights to publish those. There's various copyright laws from open source to, kind of like patented that you can do. And you want to make sure, because AI is so ingenious about what it does, and it doesn't really understand laws. And it also doesn't understand, what it's doing. So sometimes saying no, you can't even see this data because it may be smart enough to reverse engineer, I think is a really interesting point. So, let's jump right over to Faryar. What's your thoughts on this? Do you think that this is an existential threat, that AI is just going to steal your data?
I don't think so. And I knowing more about the context of this story, which I guess surprisingly the article is somewhat vague on, sheds more light. But generally speaking, for AI systems, the quality of your data is everything. And scraping internet, when you scrape internet, you come across a lot of junk because for all sort of SEO optimization, all that sort of stuff, a lot of websites include lots of data that is just for lack of a better term, is contaminating your data set if you at all hoping to have something some sort of a respectable data set. So I don't really see how scraping internet could help you arrive at any sort of data set that's useful in the first place. And second, I don't understand what specifically Italian authorities are thinking that that data set would achieve or accomplish. I want to note, however, that you might recall last year the Italian authorities also, for a brief period of time, even banned ChatGPT. So they seem to be somewhat allergic to this whole notion of AI, and they seem to be kind of jumping on any opportunity to try to kind of wrap their mind and their hands around it, if you will. But how much of it is legitimate kind of fear that could materialize in terms of like accessibility of people's personal information, and what does it even have to do with the data set for training AI? I'm not sure about that, but I don't think it's an issue.
And I think that's a very interesting point. And AI has been around for 30 plus years. This is not like this technology that randomly discovered. It just had a point of awakening of which now suddenly people are utilizing it. Same as, blockchain existed before Bitcoin. But that was the first use case, that took a decade for people to care about. My thoughts around this and to your point is, what's the harm? I think it's one of those things that having this the ability to turn a switch on and off to say, I don't want my data scraped, is I think what they're going after, and most likely a budget and an ability to explore and understand. I've always said, if you put it online, like, it's out there forever. There's no such thing as a delete button. You post a tweet. Elon said something really incredibly dumb the other day, and he had to come visit your country, Liat, and he had to go on stage and say, I was incredibly dumb. Doesn't matter if you delete it. Once you say it, it's out there forever. So what's your thoughts on kind of this ability to be, I guess, maybe forgotten or not to be included in a forever data set? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that is at the heart of this issue, and with Italy in particular, but in the EU in general. The idea of data protection has always been kind of first and foremost. And I think they're really grappling with this notion that for the younger generation, privacy isn't as important per se. And the generation that does feel that it's important is trying to wrap its head around a technology that it has no idea how it's developing and where it's developing.
Fair. To come back to you on a different article, so the California governor, I guess that's Newsom, is calling for statewide generative AI training. So, again, there's a common theme here that now suddenly, now there's this common theme that the government's getting involved here. And the goal is to equip residents with skills to thrive in a generative AI economy and address potential job impacts. Are we training people? Is it too early for this at this point? Is my question. You produce a lot of content. You put things out there. You have a lot of projects. I know you employ a lot of 3D artists, and these are highly skilled
Sure.
developers and everything else. Are we a little early to start saying we're going to train someone on kind of an alpha product at this point?
We might be, and I don't understand specifically why generative AI in this context. It's all AI, if you will. I mean, generative is just a subset, and not necessarily the scary one, if you will.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. So I think this is just a way for the government to kind of note that they're kind of thinking about it, and there are some. You can hear the murmurs of some public outcry about the fears of AIs replacing jobs, and everyone's hearing that, okay, now it writes codes, now it does this, now it drives cars. So, now it's kind of creeping into all sort of aspect of society. So I guess the average citizen is worried that it might come for them anytime soon. So the governments are trying to kind of preempt those sort of public sentiment, if you will, by trying to basically beat some comfort into the issue of educating public more, so that I guess they can be more feel a bit more comfortable with the whole concept, common usage of it, as it's going to be more prevalent in everyday life, and eventually it will impact the job market in a few years' time immensely. And that's something that I guess to some extent affects many aspects of life. Like if you think about it, for a state of California, if a future comes in 4 years' time where a lot of lots of jobs are replaced by AI, you could basically do a back of an envelope calculation, realize the tax implications in terms of income for the states, of
Yeah.
how dramatic that could be, right? So I guess government, along with people, they're trying to kind of again wrap their head around how is it scary? How scary is it? What are the implications? What are the ramifications? What are the timelines? What is really happening?
So listen, the next really kind of is we see government stepping in now. I think we'll understand the reason is the private sector is scaring the bejesus out of them, and we'll talk a little bit more about the chaos at OpenAI here in a second. With I've never in my life seen a more dysfunctional board governance failure than what happened there. But Vitalik, who is clearly a technologist, a futurist, and sees a lot, and he's incredibly wealthy, so he's able to fund projects, he's able to see projects, he gets a lot of doors open to him. So when someone says like Elon or Vitalik says something, I do take it with more than just a grain of salt, because they've obviously seen or heard something from someone that knows an unreleased product. So Vitalik, Ethereum's co-founder, warns of the potential of a super intelligent AI that can surpass humans and become the next apex species. Elon has warned about this. We've seen a number of people. There's been councils on this. I think it is a real concern that we need to have. And Liat, I'd love to come back to you. I know this isn't exactly your area of specialty, but in the same sense, we're all kind of in this together that we have to understand. What is now a 200-pound gorilla, could grow up and be a 10,000-pound gorilla here soon that could get out of control.
Yeah, I'm following this in the same way I think that you are, in that I'm listening to what smart and well-versed people are saying. It's certainly frightening, and I think what we're seeing now is on the one hand, some fear mongering, some maybe rightful fear, and trying to understand what it is and how to hopefully be able to either regulate it or understand how to tackle it. But as I told you when we started talking about this is one of those places where I'm watching and fearful on the one hand. I'm still an optimist on the other, and just waiting to see how it plays out. But certainly, when Vitalik speaks, it's something to take into account, and I think that is a fear.
Yeah, to circle back around, the last week, right before Thanksgiving, there was this entire, just chaos of failure of board governance at OpenAI. Sam Altman, was abruptly fired out of the blue. It looked like it could be a board coup to take it over. Honestly, I still don't understand what exactly happened, but there was enough basically coming out that's saying the underlying crux was that Sam was pushing too fast without the necessary safeguards. And I think the question is that if you do have a true awakening, like a real, what Vitalik is warning here, a true apex predator that doesn't have the safeguards, that the most important thing, in this AI's existence is the human species, right to exist. It sounds very, like Terminator sci-fi, but that's a real concern, because once look at COVID, look at kind of what happened to the world there. We managed it, I'd say poorly, but we managed to get through it as a human species, that to deal with a global threat. That we could just stay inside, like the best thing to do is just social distance and stay away. But at this point, there's very few countries left in the world outside of like maybe North Korea that aren't connected to the global internet in a way that if there is a true virus per se. And I think that's the way I think that I hear Vitalik stating this is no longer like doing memes and kind of helping us do our homework. This is like there's a true threat to our species. We really do need to have safeguards. For Faryar, what's your
I have
thoughts around this?
yes, I have a couple of points. So number one is I think these concerns are somewhat legitimate. these concerns need to be entertained seriously. If this is going to go wrong, we need to understand in Elon's word, this is kind of an extension level kind of problem, right? Now,
Yeah.
at the same time, you have competing interests. One is that we can talk about how scared we are of it and what could go wrong. The fact is that development of it and evolution of it from a species kind of standpoint is not going to stop. As a matter of fact, it's going to ever accelerate. And one of the simple reasons is that in the world of AI, is not like one body is in control. You have geopolitical concerns. You have basically potential regional adversaries going at it. There are lots of competing military applications that basically are heavily engaged in AI research and all that sort of stuff. So as much as we want, we can kick and scream about how dangerous it could be, and it will be, but we need to also be practical about the fact that we can't control its evolution. So what I think would really make sense, and this happened long ago when nuclear energy and nuclear bombs and all those sort of stuff came to seem, there was all sort of nuclear non-proliferation treaties. There was all sort of collaboration between government, even adversaries, trying to make sure that nothing accidental happens. I think the time has come for a kind of multinational AI safety research kind of body, if you will, to look at this and all aspect of it and just focus not on slowing down the development or expecting that development it doesn't accelerate, which it will, understanding nature of the issue for what it is, and then trying to understand, okay, how can they contribute to safety? What can they produce that every basically application of AI could possibly integrate, that it teaches the AI, please don't kill human beings. They're vital for existence of Earth, or
So,
somehow basically try to have it both ways. That's what I'm trying to say.
my question, back to that, and as
Yeah.
a thesis, and Liat, please expand, is I think that the difference of a nuclear arms treaty is that it does take nation states. You're talking about, billions of dollars and immense resources, of which there's still very few countries on this planet that are able to do so. The difference here is the concept is that you can have a kid in a basement that doesn't really understand what he's doing, that does have some sort of breakthrough and access and releases this, very much the same as a virus that gets released from a lab unintentionally, that this gets out. And so the thought is, to me, I believe blockchain, is not designed for humans. It's designed for bots. It's designed for AI. And I think that, to me, the concept of token gating, the concept of utilizing blockchain as a safeguard against AI is the very best way to protect the financial markets, to protect against a lot of these things. Because blockchain, listen, if quantum computing comes along, then and you can hack Bitcoin in 19 seconds, then there's nothing in the world that's safe. Until that point happens, let's push that aside. But being able to kind of safeguard and utilize blockchain in this capacity, I think is, to me, the best thing that I've seen to contain how bots and AI is used in this world. But Liat, please.
So I'll just take it a little bit at higher level. I think we as a human race, we keep creating something that has incredible advantage and an incredible threat. And then we somehow find either ways to try to control the threat and find solutions that counter that threat. The optimistic side of me thinks that we'll continue in that vein. And will some people get hurt, and will there be some big like messes to clean? Yes, there will be, but I am optimistic, and maybe blockchain is one way to do it. And then when quantum computing does come, then we'll have to deal with that as well. So I'm a believer in the human race's ability to find ways to protect itself, but I don't think it will come without some pain and suffering along the way.
Yeah, very interesting. So the SEC is now looking for fraud, FTX style fraud, which is, embezzling, money laundering, and everything else, in Binance. And I think the most important point that I want to point out is this is not a failure of blockchain. This is not a failure of cryptocurrencies.
Absolutely not.
This is like Bear Stearns, Enron level, like white collar crimes, that Bankman sat on trial and said, it's just bad trades, and nobody believed him, so is this kind of the point where, it's not that we want the traditional banks and financial institutions to be controlling the cryptocurrency market, but do we need the adults to now show up in the room and say, like, look, regulation's not scary, but it has to be managed, and you can't play by your own rules just because it's a different technology.
Indeed, and I want to like look at this for a second from a kind of a macro perspective. If you notice that it is a pattern that also had happened in traditional securities, like prior to many of bad events, like you mentioned Enron, you'll see that the way things work is that a field kind of goes about doing its own thing until like some shoe drops, and then the government gets involved, and then things normalize. So it's kind of a pattern we've seen, and you know, in some positive respect, this happened in a way that it happened. Um, it kind of forced government to even recognize this industry, because if you think about it, before, at some point in time, there was such silence from on the side of government, and I think, and I was puzzled. I was puzzled back then to trying to think, okay, if they think, if they don't even talk about it, I mean, it doesn't exist. It is not going to affect anything. It's not going to be legitimized. I think so they resist even recognizing it, if you will, for some time, until something about FTX and Binance came about, and now they're
Yeah.
coming in and saying that we do have the authority and this needs to be regulated, and eventually this is good for the end consumer. And when you have a regime that the end consumer is basically protected, and money doesn't go into some blind bucket like FTX or Binance that you just have to trust. Remember, this whole thing started for lack of trust to fiat currency and institutions. Now and then we ended up with FTX, where you hear the
Yeah.
entire company is being managed on a QuickBooks. So that was kind of defeating, if you will. But now with all's been happening, I think we will see a brighter future where eventually government is recognizing its use cases, its actual existence in society, and subsequently respectable financial institutions going to adopt it. So it's going to be regulated partly by its further use and involvement of adults, as you mentioned, and the
Mhm.
fact that government is actually trying to prevent, cataclysm.
So shifting just a little bit over into kind of, I think, some of the utility of blockchain. Again, where there's not much we can control, the SEC is doing their thing. I highly disagree with their tactics and approaches, but we won't go too into there. But Fireblocks just launched, and I'm excited about this because I'm actually going next week to Tulum to the Fireblocks Spark conference. This is their first one, and I got to tell you, we've been a client of them. The two things I hate the most about Web3 are wallets and bridges. Like, I think that the mark has just been missed entirely on those two concepts. So I'm excited to see, and most importantly, when we're talking about failures of exchanges from FTX and so many others, they're launching a ability to have an off exchange wallet verification system. So you can still utilize an exchange, but the funds are now held outside of what would be the normal omnibus. So Fireblocks introduces off exchange, a trading system addressing centralized exchange risks. It enables institutions to trade without fully relinquishing custody, including MPC wallets, multi-shards, reducing counterparty risk, and preventing collapses similar to FTX. This is, I think, like, yes, this is the right way to do it. If I go to Coinbase or Kraken or anyone else, and I have purchased Bitcoin or anything else, it should be mine. Put it somewhere where I know it exists. I hate self custody. So I feel good about this, especially having used Fireblocks software. I know how good it is compared to everything else on the market, but it's very expensive. So, I mean, you're talking about, for us at yWhales, it's about $70,000 a year to have that level of protection. So the thought that you can have that as a normal user on Coinbase or Kraken or Binance or anyone else, and your funds are safe in the case of a collapse, like, this is a win. Liat, what's your thoughts? Because again, this is something we've dealt with so many times.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a great development into making blockchain technology more accessible because, like you said, you hate self custody. Well, a lot of people hate self custody, and it's also just inaccessible to a lot of people. You just hate it, but a lot of people just can't do it. So I think this is one of those building blocks. I'm positive, and there are already, like, some articles will there'll be naysayers and there'll be some hiccups along the way, but I think this is definitely the right direction to enable kind of developing technology to offer protection so that all of the things that are happening on centralized exchanges, which is where all the bad things can happen, get mitigated into a place where we can truly use blockchain technology the way that it's supposed to be used.
Yeah, and Faryar, we saw in the trial of Sam Bankman that it came out that they were taking clients' Bitcoin and selling it, at low market rates to keep the price of Bitcoin down. We still don't know why they were doing that, and that was during the bull rush when everything was going up. We couldn't understand where there's this massive sell pressure. They were still saying, clients, your Bitcoin is here. It's in the account. It's safe. Don't worry. We're representing that your Bitcoin's here, but they were selling it out the back door. Clear fraud and so many other things, but what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
also consequence of fraud. I mean, this has nothing to do with crypto in that sense. It's just,
yeah. Yeah, but to me, this is also the way. Like, let's be clear. What Fireblocks is presenting here, and again, I'm going to the conference, but I'm not paid by them in any way, shape, or form. This is what I think banks should institute. Like, if I give my money to a bank, and I want to know what's there. I mean, look at what happened with our industry, not in the blockchain crypto side. Look at what happened to us on the TradFi side. Silvergate. Silicon Valley Bank. I know so many amazing companies that have absolutely no fault of their own. Relying on these institutions, they didn't realize that they were, their money was being thrown out the back door into garbage investments and buying bonds that anyone with a half a brain would say this is not a solid trading strategy to buy long term.
And so much better to have it protected by this, technology than even a government insurance policy like the banks have.
Yeah,
let's remember something, which is sometimes it just baffles me. This whole thing started like the advent of Bitcoin. Why did we even go there? Because we were afraid of centralized authorities. Like, we didn't like fiat currencies, central banks, centralized points of authority. And then we ended up when Sam Bankman-Fried's centralized QuickBooks software for holding everyone's account. It was not supposed to be like this, right? This needs to become a fully trustless system where no one single point of authority, no one centralized being entity is in control or can cause any sort of damage, right?
Yep.
So I think there's a lot to do, but I think this is a step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, to me, the ability to know, and this will be used, right off the bat for the blockchain based exchanges. But to me, this is like I think one of the biggest developments that we've seen, kind of the blockchain that is TradFi based. We already know. And I know most banks are working on blockchain integration. So there's the CDBCs and all that other garbage that's going out there. But the core banking systems that every bank operates around the world has been working over the last 3 to 5 years on allowing for digital currencies, allowing for cryptocurrencies, whatever they're going to allow. But they're allowing for kind of that wallet systems. So I think this is huge, not just for cryptocurrencies or NFTs, but this is a real big game changer to the SWIFT system and everything else, that we now have validation and verification that I would choose a traditional bank that says your account's safe. Look, if we're lending the money, that doesn't mean that if we default, we're your assets are now ours. If a bank makes a bad choice, same as if Binance or FTX makes a bad choice, I as a consumer shouldn't be harmed. That's what the regulation's there to do. We just haven't had the technology to be able to truly silo funds of potentially millions or billions of people away from that collection point. So or any other thoughts, Liat, on that one?
This is very well put.
Good. So as we kind of bring this to a close, you guys are both, extremely active right now. And during bull markets, we're all just doing everything we can to ride that wave and make it kind of happen and get ready for the next one. But in the crypto winter, we've been building. All of us have been building. We have new projects coming out. It allows kind of the FOMO is all gone. It allows those of us that kind of had funding, had the concepts and insights to survive, really there. And you guys are absolutely at the top of that list. Love to hear whatever we can about what you're working on, and if you have any projects or things coming out that we should know about. This is the excitement here. So, Liat, you want to start?
Yeah. So, the projects that we work on in our clients, it's for SEC reasons, we can't go out and kind of, if I gave you the names and said it would sound like I might be proposing for you to buy the code. But I will tell you that we are working on some really great projects that are kind of game based, where token economies make a lot of sense. And what we're really excited about is the projects that we're working on right now are projects that are already out there and they're doing things, and we're helping them either launch a token to an established community, so what we call project market fit, or projects that have already launched and just trying to get out there. So I can't name any names, but you can definitely keep reading the news, and you'll see our projects and Horizen Labs Ventures mentioned with them, and really proud of all.
If people want to follow along, where are you most active?
Yeah, so I think X, or former Twitter, and we're under HLV, Horizen Labs Ventures, and HLV on X, and that's probably the best place to find us.
Fabulous. Faryar, you guys have so much going on. And I know you got the same problems. We're all NDA'd, 6 ways from Sunday.
Yes. Exactly. So can name names, but I can say that within the confines of Hollywood industry, we have some exciting projects going on. As you said, we basically dedicated our efforts mostly during the crypto winter in building, and we took our interactive immersive reality stack of technologies, and one thing that we made is we made it accessible via browser, both on mobile and on web, because previously you had to download our app to be able to access the Multiverse platform. Then you don't need that anymore. Now, one thing that's exciting is that we also have these custom GPTs connected to our avatar. So we now have this basically turnkey solution for designing all sort of games, immersive commerce, where you can have our avatars, let's say, trained as a customer service agent, producing all sort of products and services. And basically you have an immersive shop that's web-based and super easy to access. So in a way, a kind of an immersive environment that has a lot of capabilities can directly be embedded inside merchants' own IP and website, and they don't have to basically push people into Roblox or other places. They can actually serve clients and within the confines of their own brand identity. So we're pretty excited about that, and we're seeing a lot of positive response.
That's amazing. And I think the biggest thing I learned from, kind of these last couple bull runs, and I'm really thankful for, is we saw so many like advanced financial vehicles, like really pressure tested with, let's be clear, like things that aren't real. The concepts of digital scarcity, that's not a real thing. That's an artificial constraint that we put on it. And so now, as we're kind of moving to the real world, and Liat and Faryar, you guys have like real clients that have real use cases and real utility in the world. We've already pressure tested this. Like if I understand the difference. If a JPEG that is not real in this world, can be worth millions of dollars, and you can have value, and you can have utility, and you can have all these other things. Now we can take real world assets, we can take commerce, we can take different financial vehicles, and we can solve and scale a lot of problems that I think have been, excluding a lot of this world around the globe. I've traveled so much this year, and I've seen so many people that are just desperate for, like, look, we don't need regulation, but we just need transparency. South Africa,
absolutely,
like, holy cow,
well
like,
said.
It's chaotic, and so I love what you guys are working on, and so thankful. For real quick, where can people chase you down?
I'm mostly active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I don't post often actually, but I'm there a lot. Also on X.
Okay.
I'm not for whatever reason I'm a very kind of quiet, silence person. I observe more than I put content out there, but I'm out there.
I have
So
the same exact problem. My 2024 resolution is I will
yeah,
dedicate a minimum of 1 hour a day to actively responding and engaging
sure.
on both X and LinkedIn. So that's
No,
my
no,
24 goal.
I do engage with people. I just don't post a lot of content. It's just
Listen,
yeah, yeah,
it's there. So Liat's winning the
sure.
race there. yWhales, thank you guys so much for your time as always. Please follow along. End of the year is coming up quick, and again, with everything going on in the world, we hope you're safe. We hope you're happy and healthy. Let's all kind of get through this year, and 24. Like I said, let's be ready for the next bull run. Liat and Faryar, thank you guys so much. yWhales, talk soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.